right. Thank you, Paul. Time to take a coffee break now. We start with a new way of tracking the election.
Yeah, I thought this was really interesting. We bet on so many things, right? There's sports betting, you go to Vegas, you gamble on. Now people are gambling on the election. And it's all these different platforms have now gotten involved in it. I didn't even realize this was legal. Robinhood, which is an app a lot of people end up using. You can do savings accounts, different things. They've now jumped on the bandwagon. They just launched their election betting portion of the app, and it's been really interesting because you're talking major money. There's a site called Polymarket that isn't available to us here in the U.S., but you have people from other countries betting on our election as well. And some of the statistics are showing that there's so much money going toward Donald Trump. So while the polls may show that they're in a very tight race, when you look at the election betting, the bettors are betting on Trump. And what happens is you bet on the person you think that's going to win. If they do, then you get paid out later.
I didn't know that was legal either.
Yeah.
And it's such a close contest that I can see why people are, betting.
I don't know. It feels a little weird to me because we're talking about democracy.
Right. There's that.
Touche.
There's that.
So that's all I have to say.
Here's what I just hope doesn't happen is that anybody feels disenfranchised or chooses not to vote because they look and see what the gambling odds are of somebody winning the presidency over somebody else. Because you should go vote, let the votes be counted, and the chips will fall where they fall.
And we've seen that polls aren't always accurate.
Correct.
That's happened too.
Yep.
That happens too.
Buckle up.
Yes.
Okay, do you guys remember the Stanford prison experiment? It's
Yes.
studied in psychology all the time. A professor at Stanford took human subjects, assigned half of them to be guards, assigned half of them to be prisoners, and basically it was a study in evil. That's what they called it, because the people who were assigned to be the guards became tyrannical. They started torturing the prisoners. The prisoners became really distressed. And this was really a big experiment in 1971 that showed how social situations influence people's behavior. Anyway, that professor has now died, Philip Zimbardo. He was 91. He was criticized a lot for this experiment, but then he also studied the bystander effect, where people diffuse responsibility and don't help each other if there are other people watching. He studied how these roles deteriorated and the lines between reality and these studies really got blurred. And it was supposed to be a 2-week study. It was called off in 6 days because it deteriorated so rapidly. So anyway, he made a big impression on psychology, and now he's passed away.
I mean, it was controversial, but we also learned a lot from it. And we've seen that play out, especially now with social media and phones everywhere. We see those kind of interactions day to day.
And he said it can go the other way too, and heroes can also emerge in those situations. So pretty interesting.
Yeah. Paul?
Is my turn?
No.
No.
Okay.
We just thought you had something to say.
Unless you think you're a gummy bear mom.
I am not a gummy bear mom, but please tell me about it.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what it means. So a gummy bear mom is essentially a mom who isn't scared to give her kids some salty snacks and sweets alongside the healthy food. So the idea behind it is it takes that pressure off of having to have everything so healthy, all organic, and it really normalizes all types of food. This kind of trend has emerged on TikTok. And the idea too is that it takes away the novelty of the candy, the sweets, so that kids don't want it as much, right? If you forbid it and you never have it in your house, then they go to grandma's or a friend's house and that's all they eat. Now, experts say there is one good thing about this. You shouldn't label foods good versus bad, right?
That's true.
Instead, you should talk about, hey, if you're gonna have some of that candy, it's gonna give you energy right now, but then you might crash. So let's have some fruits and vegetables or some protein to balance out the candy that you just
And the kids are like, yeah, fruits and vegetables and protein.
Well, look,
That sounds good on paper.
I always say parenting is a combination of threats and bribes. Come for me if you want, but
Let's hang out at Christine's house. Wow.
That's what I feel like my life
It's like the Stanford study.
Yes.
We should have seen his parenting study. They didn't even start it.
I feel like I'm no longer the prison guard in my home sometimes. But I will say I'm definitely a gummy bear mom. I had lived in a house where my parents, never said anything was off limits, but I had friends who couldn't have candy in their home, and then they come to my house and eat everything in the closet. So I try to stress moderation. I try to talk about, like, when they're little, you call it like they're growing food. I try to say, like, have some of this with some of this. You always talk about, like, yes and.
Yeah.
So I do that a little bit with parenting. And also I love gummy bears. So how can I tell them you can't, you know, one time I told them no candy, and then one of my daughters was like, you have candy in your nightside drawer.
They're calling you out.
Which I thought was hidden.
This weekend I walked downstairs and I was like, what are you having for breakfast? To the 10-year-old. And he said, Dad said it was okay for me to eat the leftover birthday cake. Because it was my husband's birthday on Friday.
An occasional birthday cake breakfast. Come on.
You know, my husband would say it's no
Right
different
after
than
the
a
pizza.
donut or a muffin.
Right after the
Right?
pizza.
It's like a muffin
fine.
with frosting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't say anything. Dad said it was okay, so it was fine.
As long as he had some broccoli later in the day.
I want the invite to your kid's birthday party. It's going to be a fun party at
the
your
last
house.
one, crumble cookies were there.
Yeah,
They were
but don't
really good.
expect any goodie bags, because that's another one of my pet peeves. I don't do goodie bags.
Gosh, tell us how you feel, Christine. All right, we got to finish this with Dodgers.
Okay.
3 big numbers for Dodgers fans that you got to know going into tonight's game. First number is 9. The last 9 teams that have gone up 3-0 in the World Series, not only did they win the series, they won it in Game 4.
Oh, good.
They
Okay,
swept,
good.
so 9 in a row. Next number is 7. The Dodgers now have a 7-game World Series winning streak against the Yankees. 3 this year, and back in 1981, they lost the first 2 games, but won the next 4.
Okay.
So 4 then, 3 now. The last one you probably heard of last night in the first inning, Freddie Freeman, the number's 5. He has now homered in 5 straight World Series games. He played for the Braves back in 2021, homered in Game 5 and Game 6. And now in this series in 2024, he homered in Game 1, he homered in Game 2, and he homered last night. That ties the all-time record, 5 games in a row. Of course, that's the big one right there.
Yes.
So
That was the bat drop one.
There's one extra number, 1. We got one more win.
Okay.
So we're done.
Oh, one more.
One
Okay.
more. One more. That's it. Just one
That's
more
all we
game.
need.
So close.
And that's today's coffee break.
Now you can get your Kcal news, weather, and live stream all in one place on the CBS News app. Download it free today.